Hello everyone and welcome to sunny Dorset for our first ever live on Foxpit Equestrian. And before I go any further, Jackie and I have been self-isolating together as part of the Team Foxpit since the beginning of the COVID-19 crisis and shutdown. So we have been self-isolating as a family unit, and that's why we're sitting close together and not 2 meters apart. So please don't be offended if you see us sitting close together, but we're a unit of 10, and that's how we've been self-isolating. But Jackie, welcome.
Yeah, it's really good to be here.
Thank you very much. I sort of feel this is a funny one because for you and me, you know, we work together every day. I've been part of your team for 20 odd years. Yeah. But I really think it's been important through the Foxpit Equestrian channel to give us the opportunity to really showcase our team. And you are very much the queen of the team, because how long is it now that you've been with me?
This is my 28th year, so that's a long time. But it is, like you say, it's all the team.
It really
important.
Is unbelievable in this sport how important the likes of you and Adam and all the team at home are. Just talk us through what it was like when you first joined William.
There was 3 horses, 2 competing horses and 1 working pupil horse. So very small, and literally 3 stables, 3 horse box. And then it gradually grew and grew and grew until had to move down the road because there were too many horses in 2 different yards. And then it grew into what it is now.
Amazing. So you've been with him since he was at university, so basically a kid.
Yeah.
Through 6 Burghley wins, 2 badminton wins, 4 Olympic Games, 4 WEGs. I mean, It's been an unbelievable, I hate this word, but it has been an unbelievable journey.
Yeah, I know what you mean about the word, but it really is. I mean, it's been so different. And also going from long to short format in the eventing, different types of horses that have come up. I mean, it has been a journey, a lifetime.
And the thing about you and William, I think, and I'd love to know your point of view, but he has total confidence in you. So when you go to a major championship or badminton or Burghley, you both are so clear about what your roles are within that team, aren't you?
Yeah, and I think that's really important because my job is to make sure that he can concentrate properly on what he needs to do. Not be worrying about, oh, will she have the right tap? Will she have this? I mean, of course, you always have, you know, chats and comments about things, and that's part of the thing to keep it, telephone calls, to keep a 2-way system going. But it's important that I know my role and he knows his.
And I think you are what I would call the marginal gain. Every elite athlete has something in their armory, which is their marginal gain. And William has various different things, but you are top of that list. And I think everyone who's involved, whether it's owners or us lot who are involved, it's really good that somebody's trying to ring us now, can understand what a pivotal role you play. And actually, we've had a really interesting question through already from Eleanor Hannam. And she says, and I think you touched on that, what skills do you think you need to become a good groom?
Yeah, well, hi, Eleanor. Great question. I think you just need to be really organised and dedicated. You know, I'm a stickler for lists. I always have been. And just so that you know exactly what you're doing on that day. But also, big important thing, a passion for it as well.
Passion for horses, I think, is something that comes through from you. Where did that come from? Because you don't come from rolling countryside.
No, not at all. I used to sit there watching on the television and just praying that I could do that. I wanted to be the girl that when the horse came out of the arena, I was patting him and looking after him. I read, I think everybody has, the Jill and Her 2 Ponies books. And it was my dream to be able to walk down a line of horses and put Whitney blankets on them.
And it's come true because your mum, your dad, from the middle of Manchester, it's amazing where that passion's come from. But then the knowledge grew, and you know, of course, this week we're all nostalgic because of badminton, and we should be packing the lorry. You should have been arriving now and setting up for your 18th badminton. Can you take us back to those early years? And before you started working for William, what was your knowledge of badminton? What was your experience?
My knowledge was the same as everybody else's, going there in rain or shine with my wet weather gear on, going around the tray stands, but watching the cross country. I mean, I must admit, you know, I love the dressage and the show jumping, but the excitement of cross country day, you can't beat it.
No, you really can't, can you? And actually, we'll get on to this, but About Time Eventing has asked us, what is your post-badminton cross-country care routine? And that is something that you've developed, isn't it, over the years?
Yeah, definitely. Well, hi, eventing. I think as times have changed and we've got all these new gadgets and things, We now do a lot more icing, and we've used game ready machines. Initially, when they finish, your most important thing is obviously cooling them down and getting the ice on the legs. And
you're very keen to keep them moving, aren't you?
Yeah, very much so. You've got to be really careful about them not tying up, and also bursting a blood vessel, having a bleed. The vets would be very cautious about that. And you've got to think about the next day as well. You're trying to get the horse to recover the quickest and best, so you can maximise his performance the next day.
For a 3-phase competition.
Yeah.
So William comes through the finish, and you're often seen running up to the finish with your head collar in hand.
Yeah.
And immediately the saddle's taken off. You often keep the bridle on, don't you? And then we all start. So you have someone either side, don't you? And you manage that cooling process.
Yeah. And it's important that you teach the horse to be able to relax after that as well. I've been quite, well, strict isn't a great word, but been quite strict with the horses to teach them to walk slower, so their heartbeat comes down a bit quicker, and to be more relaxed, to allow the cooling. Really important that you can get in there to cool them down. And we'd have little pit stops, and then we'd get the boots off, ice on. If the horse is suitable to have a head collar on, of course, much better, so they can breathe easier. But say, for example, when we had chilly morning, it probably wasn't a good idea to change the bridle in the finish box. So then we'd keep the bridle on, and keep cooling them down, obviously looking at the same time to make sure there's no issues there. There might be a cut that needs attention.
Or a shoe loss.
Yeah, shoe loss. If the shoe's twisted, important to get that off and get a boot on, so you can get them back and hopefully not have too many issues with that foot.
I think that point you make about training the horses in that post and giving them the confidence to relax has been something I really note with you. So you would more often than not take the lead and hold the horse's head, wouldn't you? And then you'd instruct myself or other more junior members of the team like me and other people to do the washing off and keep it. But we would have maybe 10 buckets going, wouldn't we, continually putting water on.
I mean, it can take easily 20 minutes to cool them down, especially on a hot day. But I think it is important that your horse has confidence in you. And that's the important thing about building a bond up, not only at the week at the event, but at home as well.
Absolutely. So that would be immediately. So you've got them in what we would call the 10-minute box, washing them off, cooling them down, and you can't leave there until the vet gives you the okay to leave there.
Yeah, they've got to come and ideally take their temperature again, but listen to their heart rate. Their heart rate has to drop below, it's generally about 80, 85 before they'll let you go.
When you get them back to the stables and they're very calm, and we mustn't dwell on this for too long because we've got so many things we want to talk about, but you're very keen to give them a bit of space, aren't you, before you start perhaps icing them more? Yeah.
I think unless you've got a real issue, they can have 5 minutes where they have their ice off, they go in, you shut the door, and they can just go, whew, badminton was more than I thought it was, or wasn't that great? But it gives them time just to have a drink, to have a wee, pass some droppings, and then you can start on them.
You've got so many different experiences at badminton. I mean, we were looking back through. How many different horses have you been there with?
Oh, it must be about 17 or 18.
So 17 or 18 different horses over 17 years. Yeah. And we know that William won it the 2 times. We thought we'd just show you that. Oh, look, 2004. That was Tamarillo. And then we've got the 2015. So these are the plaques you get when you complete. That's Chilly Mornings Badminton. But of those different horses, can you think of, well, let's talk about a low point first, because we obviously we love celebrating the highs, but what's been the sort of worst moment?
Oh, well, there's probably been a couple actually, and quite early on, and it's good actually that you realise that there are lows as well as highs, because then the highs are even better. I think the 3rd year with Charker, he was in the lead, but he wasn't sound enough after cross country, so he got spun.
So he's in the lead overnight going into Sunday.
Yeah.
I mean, what on earth? I can't imagine. So did you present?
Well, we did, and then they held him, and we thought it's not worth it. He's done his bit, and we were just.
And how long before he was sound?
4 days.
Oh my god! So and then he went on to. Was it after he'd won Burghley? Was that before he'd won Burghley?
Before he'd won Burghley.
So he then got some recompense by winning Burghley, but he could have had the double that year.
Yeah.
Oh my god! Can you even put into words? Leading him out there, coming back to the stables.
I don't think you can really. You're not really saying very much at that moment. And, he was one of my big boys as well. So, he was the first big boy, really.
I suppose that's the thing. So, in a way, that huge disappointment early, did it make the great successes later sort of better because you'd experienced literally the worst bar losing a horse,
Yeah.
that's the worst that could happen as a competitor.
Yeah, I think it does, but I think also, you know, still being there and taking part is a big thing as well.
Mhm.
I mean, it's fantastic to do well, but just to go to badminton or Burley is an accomplishment in itself.
We've got another question. Miki Rabu says, do you let the horses eat a little bit of grass for bringing the heart rate down?
Hi, Miki. Good question again. Probably not when they finish, because they're still very hyped up and their body's pumping blood round. So you wouldn't want to stop them walking anyway. You want to keep them moving. And probably on the way back, I would let them have a little mouthful.
Yeah. We've got another question here, and I want to get your questions in. So this comes from Lindsay Griffiths. Thanks, Lindsay, for the question. She says, I'm totally in awe of what William and Chili achieved in a very special partnership. What was Chili like at home? And how do you describe him as one of William's top horses? Obviously very handsome.
Is that William or Chili? Hi, Lindsay. Yeah, I mean, Chili was a very special horse. He was such a gent to have at home. Still a stallion, mind you, always led round in a bridle, but had beautiful manners and great respect.
Mm-hmm. Gemma Carnell, thanks, Gemma, for your question. Who is your favourite horse and memories?
Hi, Gemma. Gosh, very difficult, because I have to say there's probably a top 10. But of course, you know, Tamarillo, Chilly Morning, Moonman Stunning, who I was very lucky to have when he retired, Macchiato, Navigator. I mean, the list is endless. Park Lane Hawk, Sea Cookie. I think that's a big thing about working on a yard for a long time, that you get to meet all the different horses and their personalities. And it's not just about one horse, it's about the whole thing. And
I think also there are horses that have surprised us, aren't they?
Yes.
I think when, say, Cool Mountain or Macchiato were at their 2-3 star, well, so old 2-star, now 3-star level, you and I would have said, William,
yeah,
are you sure?
We'd have been nervous.
We were getting a bit nervous
Yeah.
and everything. Should you be carrying on with this one? And then within the system that you and William have developed, it's sort of like they go through school and suddenly they're ready for A-levels,
Yeah.
isn't it?
I mean, I remember Macchiato when he went to badminton, he was first to go.
Yes.
And they thought that they'd actually timed it wrong, because he went round so beautifully and so nicely in the time. And he actually came 5th that year. It was only as the people carried on that they realised actually the course wasn't that easy.
That's so true, isn't it?
Yeah.
Then he made it look so easy
Yeah.
that everybody thought, oh, this is all right. And then suddenly everyone started to crash and burn.
Yeah.
So we talked about the worst moment. What's your best badminton memory?
I mean, I think it has got to be the wins, hasn't it? Because especially the first win, because until, you know, Williams actually won badminton, you never really think it's going to happen. You hope and hope and hope. But the first win with Tamarillo, fantastic.
I think, you know, we were talking earlier, weren't we, about where we were going to go with this and how we were going to chat. And Lucinda Green, her 6 badminton wins are the sort of iconic target. Williams had 4 seconds, which perhaps, you and I were saying we sort of forget about those, because Tam was second twice, Hidalgo was second, and Charker was second, is that right?
He was
or
7th. Cosmopolitan was 3rd.
Yeah. So there's been so many near misses.
Yeah.
I mean, Hidalgo, what was 0.1, wasn't he, behind Oliver Town?
And often it's just a fence.
Yeah.
So I think they still won.
How do you manage that sort of disappointment? Because you and William are so competitive that it's really weird. When I first got involved with you guys, there's such a different feeling of going to a 5-star with a team who go there really believing that they can win, and really anything short of a top 3 placing is a disappointment.
Yeah. I think, you know, you are disappointed at the time, but it's what can we learn from it? How can we be better next time? Did we do everything we could have done? So you can use it round as a positive in that way.
And that's actually interesting, because you and Will have so many lists and things, but one thing you do is this big debrief after the big events, isn't it? Talk us through what you do and how you manage that.
Well, we generally have a chat about it anyway. And we do have our great horse notebook that we write everything down. And it's interesting that when you actually look at it after, you think, oh, well, maybe we should have done this, or maybe we should have done that, when you can look at it in writing. And, you know, just to think, had we got the horse fit enough? Were there any issues with him? And it's good to look back on everything, to look forward.
So each horse has its own section.
Yeah.
And then you write notes after a 3-day, William writes notes. And then I'll pull them out or you'll pull them out, and we'll photocopy them, and they'll go in the lorry to the next 3 day, won't they? So you can look at those and say, perhaps, like you said, we could do something a bit different. But also, it stops those bickering moments where you go, I'm sure you had him in the gold cheek.
It was this, it was that.
We've got some good questions. So, what qualities do you need to make a good groom? Thanks, Gemma Carnell. We've had that question, but I think Jackie maybe quite revisit that because we talked about that early on, didn't we?
Yeah. Hi, Gemma. Yeah, I mean, I just think that you just have to be 110% dedicated to the profession and really want to do well and do your best at all times.
VJ, thanks for this question. What's the difference for the grooms between the old long format and the newer short format?
Hi, VJ. A lot less running about, I can say. Yes, without the chase and the roads and tracks, I mean, it has been easier in that aspect. But then I think we've had to look at it in a different way as well, because we've got to get the horses fitter in a different way and be quicker, actually, for when they finish.
We've got a lovely question here. Hi, Alison, Jackie. Are you able to strike a balance between life experience, traditional qualifications and more modern equine qualifications when looking at recruiting new grooms?
Yeah, really interesting question. I think it all depends on the person and how much they want to learn as well. You know, colleges have their place and having practical experience has its place as well. I think it just makes a difference on the person and, you know, their desire to learn the job.
The Grooms Association's got some really interesting information about how to access this industry, and it's a wonderful industry to be part of, whether it's eventing or dressage or racing. In terms of the eventing, we really love the Pony Club and the qualifications that the Pony Club put through, don't we? Because the B test and the A test you've found over the years with your team has given a great platform and springboard into knowledge.
Yeah, it's quite a practical test. And I think that's the thing. It's great to have a lot of theory. And, you know, I'm always learning myself as well. Theory is great, but practical is very important as well.
Certainly. So, Miki Rabu, thank you. Are there teammates in the courses during the event, or do you all stay at the finish? So we do take a big team to the event. And Jackie, you've been sort of in Kentucky, haven't you, and then flown back to Badminton over the years. But you usually only take sort of one person, don't you?
Yeah, we'd normally go to the event, like you say, with one person for each horse. But then obviously on cross-country day, then people will come in and help.
So just talk us through the team of people that you and William might have at a 3 day.
Gosh, there's actually quite a few on the support team as well. I mean, obviously yourself, very important.
Sandwich maker extraordinaire.
And then person who's come with me. We'd also have physio there. We're very lucky sometimes that our farrier comes, especially to Badminton. Team vet there often. We also have people who come in and help, like I say, with the washing off, and bucket carriers.
Because the washer offers and getting the horses cool, isn't it? But at the heart of it is Jackie. Now, this is a good question. Now, bearing in mind that when Jackie goes to a 3 day, she basically takes the kitchen sink. This question from Hattie: what's your essential piece of equipment for a big event? And do you feel that new technology and gear are helping grooms or hindering and potentially replacing good old common sense?
Hi, Hattie. Gosh, that's quite a comprehensive question. I suppose my main part, or my main thing that I take, is my grooming kit, because it's got everything in it anyway. So I generally don't need to go and get anything else. I do think with a lot of the equipments are good that they brought in and have their place, very useful. But I think also, like you say, we need to use our common sense, and sometimes we just need to give the horse a rest.
Sorry about the background noise, but William and the children have just arrived home and they don't appear to be taking any notice that we are actually having an interesting conversation here, because Will's clattering around in the knife and fork store. Anyway, let's go back to some of the stuff that we've been talking about over the last 27 years. And one day that I particularly remember, and I think it really highlighted to me just where you are in terms of the echelon of grooms, was a meeting at Cheltenham, where we brought together Big Star, Sprinter Sacra, Vallegro and Chilly Morning. And Mark Beaver, who's been alongside Big Star throughout his career, Corky Brown, who's been with Nikki Henderson for over 30 years, Alan Davis, who's been with Carl Hester and Charlotte Buchanan, and yourself, all together. for you was that a special moment? Because you don't really see yourself in that type of ambassadorial role, do you?
No, I don't often. I mean, it really was. I felt so proud to be stood there with William and Chile. And I think it's then when you do those sorts of things that you think, wow, but you know, this has really meant something to a lot of people.
The FEI now are tapping in on your expertise and inviting you out. What sort of role do you feel, and where do you feel you can help the Grooms role within the sport?
I mean, I hope that we can just make it more of a career, because I think nowadays people seem to think it's more of a gap year or for 2 or 3 years. And I think a career groom, because where do you get that experience that you know that that horse isn't quite right, or it's not all just done day to day. So I think it's great to be able to help with the FEI and try to get it, like I say, as a career.
One of the things you've also been working on is perhaps supporting the newer flags to the sport, so the more minority flags, and getting them involved with training up grooms, which also, of course, helps horse welfare.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the top and bottom of it. It's to make it better for the horses, not only the people, because you do see at some of these championships a lack of knowledge, and you know, it's only through practical experience that you gain that knowledge as well.
I think you would just be literally the perfect ambassador to go out to those minor flag nations and support and advise and be there in a role that can oversee such big programs, which could really help.
I mean, it's something I'd really love to do, and I think it's something that you have to be able to realise what resources they have, so to make the best of the resources that they've got.
So we've got another question. David Garnett has sent in a really interesting question. Grooms health, physical and mental. How do you encourage your team to really look after themselves to make them as effective practitioners as possible when they're at work?
Hi, David. Very good question. I think you've just got to be encouraging and always be a person that they can come to and voice any queries. I mean, I try and encourage them to eat well, generally not smoke, but I'm afraid quite a few people do at times. And, you know, be able to talk about things. It's important as with anything to, if you've got any problems or worries, to be able to express those.
Got another nice question from Masval. If the dreaded COVID wasn't on, would the ground hardness be off-putting for badminton?
Yeah, you're probably right, actually, Masval. But we have had a bit of rain before, so you'd hope that it had fallen in the right place.
I think actually, do you know what? I think it would have been spot on the ground. We had a very dry April. We've had this absolute deluge in the last week here. And we're not that far from Badminton. We're only about an hour and a half southwest of Badminton. Where they are.
Perfect.
Yeah, I think actually it would have been all right. Miki Rabu, oh lovely, yeah, lovely. You're asking lots of questions, Miki. What's the silliest thing you forgot to bring with you? With a nice little angel emoji.
Hi, Miki. Not at Badminton, but I did actually forget my grooming kit for Burley.
Did you?
Yes.
Oh no, you've never let on that.
No, I kept that very quiet. We had it brought up the next day with somebody that was coming up.
Badminton is something particularly magical about Badminton, isn't there? Just explain like the stables and where you stay, because for most 3-day events we all sleep in the lorry. But what's the setup at Badminton?
Yeah, well, you can actually sleep upstairs in the rooms over the quadrant, and I just love to stay up there. The old dormitory beds, the iron beds that creak and rattle. But for a week, I don't care sleeping on those. And it's just so iconic because it was my first ever 3-day.
Was it?
Yes.
Oh, what a place to start. And then you've got the canteen there, haven't you? So you get meal vouchers for every meal.
Yes, we're very well fed. Probably too well fed, actually. You always need to be on a diet before, definitely. And if you stay in the rooms above, you're very close to the canteen.
Ready for breakfast. And you and William are quite superstitious, aren't you, about which stables you go in, because you've got the main quadrant. It's so extraordinary, Badminton, because it's the only place as well where we don't have temporary stabling. Well, I say only place, one of the very few events where we don't have temporary stabling, because the horses are stabled in the old Duke of Beaufort's hunting yard, which is quite unbelievable.
Oh, I mean, fantastic to go to. And they're beautiful stables. I mean, when we first went, it was the thing to be in the stables, and it was fantastic too. And then as we progress, we realise that sometimes it's not so quiet. All people are doing late yards at different times. The lights are on, the lights are off, and so we now tend to go and stay in portcullis, which is completely out of the way. Nobody ever knows where it is, but it gives the horses a bit of peace.
And it's quite funny because you're usually there, and then who else is in that little block?
Oh, there's generally Tina, Pippa. So it's normally all us oldies are all together, and there's all the girls know each other. It's great. It's a real family in there.
So the main yard at Badminton is indoors, and then you've got 2 other stables. But you're very conscious of that over the years about how you manage those horses in the stables, and that's proved tricky.
Yeah,
in some years, hasn't it?
Yes, we had 1 year where we took Cool Mountain and Navigator together. And when one left the stable, the other one went completely dotted to the point of the dressage test was squealing, whinnying. So we did say if we ever took Cool Mountain again or Navigator, we'd take them separately. And 2-3 years later, it was Cool Mountain and Park Lane Hawk. So I went in the Jeep lorry. That was very nice. William came in the Equitrek with the horses in different lorries. We kept one inside, one outside, and we held Cool Mountain when Parker came out, and vice versa, and neither horse knew the other one was there. It worked beautifully.
It was so crazy. It was like this kind of military operation, so the 2 horses wouldn't see each other, but as a result their performance was so much better, and the 2 horses were very relaxed, but it was a military operation. So we've got some more nice questions. Samantha Coleman asks, hi Alice and Jackie, how are you managing the horses' fitness currently in lockdown? Have you wound down any of them, or are they still ticking over in case the season kicks off again?
Hi Samantha. Yeah, very good question for the time as well. We've given some of the novices a bit of time off, and to be honest, the horses are doing far less. They're just basically ticking over. There's no galloping, jumping. We're just giving them a little bit of a nice light school and hacking. And I think the horses are a bit confused by it all.
I know, and they don't, oh, here's Emily. She's our youngest and just come to say hi. So we've got another question. Tanya Johnson, I hope that's our Tanya. Do individual horses get on better with certain grooms? And if so, what influences this?
Hi, Tanya. I think some horses do prefer certain people, and that's why we, try and find out who likes who best. And that would influence, say, if we were going to badminton, we'd probably take the second person who we knew got on with that horse, because when you're asking them to perform at their best, they need to be at their happiest.
And I think you've definitely picked up on something there, because what is really striking about Jackie and William and the team is the treatment of the horses as individuals. So you might find, and you'll watch, you might feed back to William, oh, that girl definitely doesn't get on best with that horse if we're hacking out, or that person definitely noticeably has a more of affinity. And you found over the years, like Tamarillo didn't like men, did he?
No, he was quite quirky about men altogether. If I do remember one time at the championship, and lovely Ken Clawson went to move his number and he nearly fell over.
He was just extraordinary, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Like if you went to, you had this amazing protocol when you tacked him up.
Yes, you had to have the girth absolutely hanging and then walk in 4 paces, do the girth up 1, again. And one day we thought, oh, this is ridiculous. We'll just do it a bit normal in the air. So till the end of his career, he had to have his girth hanging.
I mean, I remember when he was retired still, he bucked me clean off at home because I did it. And I said, oh, for goodness sake, it'll be all right. He yanked it up, poof, he was gone. And he must have been 20 at that stage. Yeah. It was just crazy. Gemma Carnell, thank you for your question. How do you ensure you don't forget anything for a big event? There's definitely a bit of a focus on forgetting things.
I know. Gemma, do you think I forget things all the time? I mean, I do have a list, a proper master list. And you would hope that you don't forget the important things. And then with eventing, all the grooms are great and they will lend you anything. Yeah. So, same for me as well. If somebody's missed something, as long as they're not going to win over you, but it's generally something like a lunge whip or a rein, and we'd all lend each other something.
And I don't know if you've seen on our YouTube channel, Jackie and Adam put together the Grooms equivalent of the Loo Roll Challenge, which has been to do with a hoof pick, and have a look at it, because that just shows the kind of Grooms family. Yeah. And I think it was amazing how you all came together. How on earth you organised that, I do not know, but you and Adam, it was brilliant. And you are such good mates. There's such a team of you, isn't there?
Oh, I mean, so much. And over the years, especially, like Rachel, who grooms for Tina, and Zany, who groomed for Pippa, we're all really good friends and want each other to do well, whatever competition we're at.
got some more questions here. Hattie, what do you think the real chances of Burley going ahead? Surely you can send the horses round. Surely you, I would imagine, saying can't. You can send the horses round a full 5-star track with no real runs under their belt. I think you mean you can't rather than you can, Hattie. Hattie, to be honest, none of us know. Obviously, Blenheim has already been cancelled, which was the week after Burley. So we're waiting and praying that Burley maybe could go ahead, and then perhaps some, like Aston Walls, maybe could put on just prep runs for Burley, perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see what happens.
We're all in as much in the dark as you are, though, on that one. So thank you so much. We've already been chatting for half an hour, Jackie, but we've got more questions coming in. So we'll keep going for a little bit. Let's see. Oh, Mickey. Oh, here we go. Mickey, we love you. Do you get an invitation for badminton, or do you need qualification points?
Hi. Well, you do need to qualify, and there's also a waiting list, so you can be balloted out the same as any other event.
So the thing with badminton is you have to have a certain number of FEI points that you get through competing in 4 and 5 stars throughout the 18 months previously, and then it goes on the most number of points down to the least. You have to have a certain amount to qualify, but then after that, that doesn't even guarantee you to get in. So you might get to the day before and still be on the wait list and hoping that you get in. So it's a different profile of entry to Burley, our other big 5-star in this country. David Garnett, social media has become an even bigger shareholder in all our lives. What platforms do you enjoy most, and have you always enjoyed them, or have you felt pressured to get with it?
Hi, David. I'm quite a dinosaur with social media. I do Facebook, and I have my own page, which we call JPES, Jackie Potts Equestrian Services. But I'm not that au fait with Twitter, or what's the other one? Instagram. I don't even know the name of it.
But it is really worth following Jackie on Facebook. And also, if you look on our YouTube channel, we've got our Meet the Team with Jackie, which is really her whole life story as well. But I think the Jackie Potts Equestrian Services Facebook page is really worth looking at. And we've also got Jackie's top tips here on our YouTube page. So we're going to be adding to those because there's, as you can tell, such a huge wealth of knowledge. Right, let's just see. We've got Gemma Carnell. How do you deal with the TV interview and press in general, Jackie?
Well, hi, Gemma. I always hope that I'm looking at my best, but not always.
It's a lot of chat about hair.
A lot of chat about hair. Hence the bobble hat when chilly morning when badminton, because it was a bad hair day. I think you just need to be really careful and positive. You know, you don't want to say stupid things or all the time, but a positive outlook and, you know, nice bit of chat about the horses and information. It's always good.
Right, these are going to be our last few questions, and then we're going to wrap it up. How do you set yourself up at a 3-day event? Is the lorry park far from the stables? Do you keep everything in the lorry, or do you make yourselves a little area to use around the stables? Oh, if only we could get you there.
Yes, gosh. At badminton, we do actually make base at the stables. A lot of the events, you still have the stable area, and you try to take the things that you need to the stables, but not too much, because on Sunday you've got to take it all back. It's a lot, yes.
There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff. But we quite like, if we've got 2 horses at most 3 days, then we would take an extra stable for Jackie to use as a tack room, because there's so much stuff. Gemma, what's your favourite sponsor of Williams that makes life easier? Ooh, that's a bit controversial.
Gemma, yes. Well, I think all the sponsors have been very useful in their own right. I mean, obviously the big sponsor Jeep has, you know, with the lorries and the numbers, etc., been a good provider there. But we've also got Barris, who the Glens have been brilliant over the years. Activo Med, we've used their blankets. Equisage, we've used their pads. Equilibrium, their boots. Spillers have been great. You know, we originally were sponsored fully by them, and now we actually still pay the fees because it's so good.
And you've always, I mean, you're at the heart of the feeding regime, and feeding is very much yours and William together. And Spillers, you know, you keep it to a very tight range, don't you? You don't go too far outside the real core.
Yeah. I mean, it's worked over the years, so that's what we use. And I do apologise to any sponsors I've not mentioned.
Miki, thank you. So Miki, you've become your friend of the show,
Yes.
I think, safe to say. She says, greetings from the Netherlands. Leah, when you look to employ new grooms, working pupils, how do you go about advertising these roles? Well, I have to say that's sort of my department with Michelle, who runs our office, who's amazing. We are so lucky because we get so many applications from all around the world. Currently, our team, if you look at our Meet the Team features, we've got Lexi, who's with us from the United States, who's probably a little bit more mature than some of the other working pupils we've had before, but she's here with her fantastic horse Sprout, and they are really worth following on social media. Lexi and Sprout's big adventure, and she approached us to be with us, which was brilliant. Then we've got Alex from South Africa, and she's again on a wonderful journey with her fantastic horse, but which are getting opportunities that perhaps she couldn't get in South Africa. And then we've got Adam, who may appear to be from Mexico, but in fact is from Newcastle.
Which is probably another country as well.
He's crazy. Yeah. So our team is very international. Lena, unfortunately, because of COVID, has just left us. She is with us from Germany. And then we have Dan, who is local and English. So, we get people from all over the world, and we always have.
And Belle's our other English
and
contingent.
Belle, she's Welsh. So
that's true.
So gorgeous Belle is with us from Wales, and again she applied to us, and she's had experience traveling, and she's worked in Australia, so she brings a wealth of knowledge, and she was a very, very good modern pentathlete, so very fit, very focused, and brings that side of it too. So always apply. You can apply through our website, and if you want to come for work experience, again we have a huge number of work experience. People come for maybe a week or two, don't we?
Yeah.
Now, Lindsay, my daughter Lavinia is 6 years old and would like a hello from Jackie and Alice, as she loves your team and William. So could you say a hello to Lavinia?
Hi, Lavinia. Nice to meet you.
All right. Nice to see you. Thanks for tuning in. I think, do you know what, Jackie? I think we're going to have to call it a day because we've been wittering on for such a long time. We could be here for another hour. But your questions have been really fantastic. It's the first time that we've done something like this. Jackie, you're amazing. We could have covered so much more. Fingers crossed that we get a season going. And please do send your questions in for Jackie. We'll be answering them through our Instagram, Facebook pages, and also, of course, through YouTube. So have a look at her feature, Meet the Team, and then do, of course, get in touch and ask any questions that you perhaps haven't had the opportunity to ask tonight. But that's it from us. Thank you so much for joining us, Jackie.
Great to meet you all.
Thanks, Sal. Lovely to meet you. Thanks.
Bye.